Hi, everyone. My name is Renee, your wealth coach. Currently, we are reading this book for our book club. And so we are on chapters 9 and 10. So investing in duplexes, triplexes, and quads. So for those that are joining us for the first time, welcome. We have covered a lot of ground. And so where we are going tonight, let's just take a look here. And I hope you can see my screen just fine. So today's highlights consist of due diligence, identify opportunities on certain properties, hiring an inspector, and making an offer. So, of course, we're reading this book, but I'm also interjecting some of my Rich Dad information on the same topic. So one of the things that the Rich Dad real estate course had instructed is that you look at 100 properties and you make offer on 3 properties and you buy one. And so there's a formula to this. So you definitely want to look at a lot of properties. You don't want to just see 1 or 2 and be done. You want to look at quite a few properties, because not only will it give you an idea of what people are looking for in today's market as far as amenities for their homes. And right now, at the time of this recording, it's really a tight market where there's not a lot of properties available for sale. And so I am getting tons of calls daily, calls, letters, email, people that are making me offers on my property. So you definitely can find property that is not on sale. We talked about that in previous chapters. So if you can get to the property prior to it showing up on an MLS listing, you can find some great deals out there. So you definitely are looking at deals right now. And right now I'm in the middle of a transaction where the owner of the property and I'm serving as the wholesaler. So even though I'm a buy and hold person, type of investor, I won't pass up an opportunity. And so this is a wholesale deal, but the owner currently is living in Africa. So just, and I found a buyer. So just getting that together can be challenging. So you want to look at more than one property. And then once you locate the properties that you're interested in, you want to secure the property. So right now, this type of market is just so congested with people that are seeking out properties. So you may, it may be a time like now where you don't have a lot of time on your side to ponder and take your time doing the numbers, because someone else can just step right in and take the property. So you definitely want to make an offer. I am making an offer, might require just a down payment, just so that the owner knows that you're a serious buyer and not just someone that is just haphazardly just out there making offers and really not serious. So you want to include some clauses in when you make the offer and you put down money on a property. So you want to make sure that you're protected, because you're making an offer prior to having the property inspected. So here are some, just a few contingency. Review and acceptance of all financial records, examination and acceptance of existing leases, obtaining clear title to the property, satisfactory inspection of the property, securing financing acceptable to the buyer. So these are just a few things that you can add to the contingency. So let's just say, and the book reveals this, that you're buying a 4-unit, and at the time of your interest in the property, even though it has a full, there's no vacancy, you want to factor that in while you're doing the numbers. You want to obtain a clear title because, so let's just say the owner has outstanding debt, like say an old water bill or something like that. When you purchase that property, you become the owner of all that. So you want to make sure that there's a clear title, that there's no liens on the property. You want to, the satisfactory inspection of the property lets the owner know, like, hey, I'm going to look closely at some things before making my final decision on your property. So, you're letting them know if there's any problems with this property, now is the time to reveal that. So that way there's no, although there will be some surprises, but you want to, again, hopefully you're dealing with an honest seller. But again, you can't just assume that they're going to do the right thing. So you want to hire a professional inspector, someone professional that does this on a daily basis, that will go in. And as you can see in this picture here, the guy is looking at the air conditioner outside. Sorry, my phone is ringing. I knew it would ring while I was on here, but that's okay. Meant to turn my ringer off. But you don't want to buy this property, and you can buy it if the air conditioner is not working, but those are the things you want looked at. The high dollar priced items in a property, you definitely want someone that's going to come in and give a thorough inspection. Definitely there's no properties out there that have nothing wrong with them, but at least they can make out a list to say, hey, this is what's wrong, needs to be fixed. And then you can calculate from your experience, or if you're a first time person, you can go back and just check the prices, call around for some prices from professionals to see if it's, if the property is worth your interest at that point. But the inspection, and especially if you're buying multiple properties, you'll meet people along the way, but generally if you use a real estate realtor, they will have people that they can refer to you as well. Or if other investors out there, they can make a referral for you as well. So, it won't be hard to find a professional inspector to come along and help you with your property. You want to ask questions. You want to ask, if you're using a real estate broker or a realtor, you can ask them questions. If you're buying directly from the seller, you want to ask questions. It's best to get answers. You don't have to be shy or feel that if you ask too many questions that it's going to ruin your deal. Listen, buying real estate is probably one of the largest investments that you'll make. And so it's best to ask your questions and get answers that you're satisfied with. So here are a few questions that you can ask, like who owns the property, an individual or corporation entity. There are corporations that do buy housing, especially if they have their employees travel back and forth, and they have, like for instance, the company that I work for full time, we have in every state almost, there's an office. So if I had to travel back and forth from here to California, and if enough employees are doing that, they may buy some corporate housing. So, and not that that's going to make a major difference, but well, like I said, every property has a story. So corporate housing usually will maintain their property at the highest level. So that tells you, it just gives you more information that corporate housing is going to make sure that the maintenance is up to date, versus you may find a landlord, again, like for instance, this deal that I'm currently in, he's in Africa, so he's not here on a day-to-day basis to check after his property, make sure that it's maintained well, unless he hires a management company that does that for him. But for the most part, you may find an owner that hasn't kept up on those things. And so that question may be important to you. Also, how long has the property been on the market? So again, you may find out that it was once on the market, it didn't sell, but it's back on the market again 6 months later. So you may find a motivated seller. Now, they may not have been as motivated the first time that it was on the market, but because it didn't sell, they may be more motivated at that time. And so you may have some wiggle room to negotiate your a nice price. So that may be important. You can find out why the owner is selling. Maybe they're moving to another state. Maybe the owner passed away and the property got passed down to a family member that is not interested in being a landlord or maintaining a property. They have no desire to be, an investor at that point, because you can become an investor by default. And so they may not be interested in that sort of thing. What can you tell me about the property? Sometimes, I have been involved in buying houses at auctions. And so there's been times where I'm looking at a property that's empty. I may talk to a neighbor, hey, how long has this been empty? Hi, Teal. Hello, Teal.
Hi, Renee. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I see you fine. I see you fine. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're in the middle of going over like questions that you would ask before making an offer or during the time of making an offer on a property. And so these are questions that you can ask if you're using a realtor, or if you're owner, or talking about that sometimes, like when you're doing your research and you're looking at a property, to some of the neighbors and find out some good information, because sometimes the neighbors, they know more about that property, they'll know more about the owner. They can give you some information that you may not be able to get just looking online at a property. You want to look at the upside of purchasing that property, the downside. Have offers been made on the property? If so, why were they? So, if a house has been on the market, then it's off the market, but it's back on the market. And so hold by then it's actually, and so they may have some mental ties to the home, or they may have lived there for 20 years and they put in a new this and new that, and so they may have the house priced higher. So you want to find out some information that will help you with the price that you're going to offer. Now, when we're talking about the single families or the quads and the triplexes. So, who are the tenants? Are they single? Are they young families? Are they older people? And the book talks about, even taking, like, if you buy something in a college area and you're like, hey, I don't want that type of clientele or tenant, then you can convert it to non-college living. One thing about college living, those apartments, they're going to be vacant during the summer. Can that property uphold during those times of vacancy? A lot of times, especially college properties, the rent is much higher. They charge, especially if you have multiple bedrooms, the bedrooms are like leased out, so you can definitely get a higher rent to make sure that the 3 months that it is empty, that but I do know that most times, they do, I have a daughter in college, so they still sign you up for the whole lease, and they usually have the parents co-sign during that time frame. So, they do get their full amount, even though it's empty during the summer. But or if it's you want to convert it to college housing, that would be up to you. Is there deferred maintenance? When was the last time that the water heater has been replaced or repaired or checked? You definitely want to find that out, because it could be a scenario where it hasn't been checked in forever. And then in my case, the first time that I would purchase my first investment property, I'm looking at the cosmetics, they're painting, they're putting down new carpet and blah, 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 blah. I wasn't looking at the air conditioner. I wasn't looking at, the high price dollar. So definitely, that goes with, having an inspector that will do a thorough job, because as soon as I close, guess what? I'm replacing a big ticket item, because, I was unaware of it as a first time buyer. But yeah, what type of financing is available? Especially like now, it's hard to find some properties. So, if it's going to take you 30 days to close, and then I got a cash buyer over here, I might go with that cash buyer. You know what I'm saying? That why wait 30 days when I can get paid for my property today? So you want to kind of have those things lined up, especially if you're seriously looking for something. And again, at the time of this recording, you'll find that, there's a lot of competition out there right now, where property is concerned. And what do you see happening in the area in the future? So I definitely love purchasing properties in up and coming neighborhoods. And so, that lets me know that along the way that I can consistently raise my rent at a good rate every year. You can increase your rents, you can get more for your buck. And that's what's happening right now. I don't know, Till, if you noticed that. Not only, and I think we talked about that in our chat, where, since doing, the book, I've been running my properties. like, oh, even this house here, like the house across the street sold for 240,000. I purchased this back in 2008 for 139. So, okay, playing the cash flow game.
I think that's awesome. It means you made a good investment decision when you bought, and that's when you make your good investment decision. You make it when you buy, not necessarily on the sell later. You know, if you buy right, you will make a profit on the sale, but it's important to buy right.
Absolutely. And you know what? Just to again use this house as an example because I purchased this to be a rental in the future. So my house from the beginning of the street up until, sorry, I forgot to turn off my phone. Got alarms going off. People are calling me. Okay, so now we got that solved. But my house, so if I was standing in front, there's the front of my house. So my house all the way down, my house was built in 1982. Everything to the left of me was just fields. Now that is all developed now. So around the corner was fields as well, but they just built like $300,000 homes right around the corner. So I didn't buy the prettiest house on the street. So one thing about which meant I didn't pay, you know, my house is not the most expensive one on the street, but when the value in the neighborhood is not going to go down. So that's one perk. The other thing is that when the values increase, guess what? All tides rise. So those are things to think about. So when purchasing property, you know, you can find some good deals in some nice areas. Okay, so now you've asked your questions. We've already gone over the numbers work before you even made your offer. You got a couple of houses that you're gonna submit an offer to. One of the things when you do submit the offer, either the seller is gonna accept it, say, yes, I like it, let's go for it. They're either gonna say no, which is not the end of the world. But you can come back and counter. You do have that option when you're purchasing property. You want to make sure, like the previous chapters, is, you know, we've already gone over on how to, you know, do the numbers. You know, you already know that the price is at a good price. So, but if you're gonna, not all prices are final, so you can negotiate. But if, let's say the seller is asking for, in this market, 240,000, you don't want to lowball, especially when there's competition out there. And then now, you know, the seller has options. They could take the height. It can become a bidding war. And so they may end up getting more than 240,000 because it's just that type of market. But you have any interesting stories about any offers you've made on a property, Teal?
My friend, I have a friend who is another real estate investor, and she was telling me, you know, I'm from Seattle. So she and I were talking about what's going on back in Seattle. She put an offer on a property with a contingency, or I don't know what it's called, but where you can elevator, I don't know, where you can increase the offer at $5,000 increments. And so she put in the offer, someone else put in the another offer that was over hers. So based on the contract she had with her realtor, she increased the offer by the first 5,000 increment, and it went up and went up and went up and up, and it went over her $25,000 elevator clause that she had in her offer. So there are properties, the demand for housing is so great right now that properties are going for over asking and getting into these bidding wars to get them.
See that that's happening right now. I'm almost tempted to see what, would happen if I said yes to some of these people calling me about my house here. But yeah, it becomes into a bidding war, and this type of market, you may end up paying more than what the owner is asking for. So, just be prepared, and that's a good concept that before you start your journey, that you already know what you're pre-approved for. But set your limits, like, okay, I am not going to go this high, because every good deal, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to take advantage of every good deal, but there's many more good deals out there. And so, set a limit for yourself. Like she set her limit at 5,000 increments, but she could say, you know what, I'm not going to go any further than 15,000. No matter how good, how much in love I am with this property. And that's another thing. You definitely want to take your feelings out of it. But yeah, we talked about contingencies tonight. And speaking on that too, like, so say if you're looking at a property and you're like, oh, they have a hot tub, they have a pool, they have, washer and dryer. So you can ask, hey, well, most definitely an in-ground pool, most likely that's going to stay. That's not something that they're going to dig up or cover up. But like say the washer and dryer or the hot tub, you don't want to assume that that's included in with the price, the selling price. You want to ask, hey, will you be leaving the wash? Does this price include the washer and dryer and the hot tub? So you definitely, as you're putting together your contract, that you specify the things that you think that is included or ask for it. And, the seller will, let you know, hey, this is not going to, we're going to take this, or you can keep this. Now, what I did was I uploaded some of the inspection sheets that I use. And again, I am incorporating some of my Rich Dad information as well as a bonus. So just looking over the property, I uploaded the property inspection checklist, and then also a due diligence checklist. You definitely, when you look at the list, there's a lot of items on there, but you definitely want to be as thorough as you can. That way, the risk is not going to be as high if you didn't do it. When you take shortcuts or you skip important things, it comes out later. And then, like I said, once you close on that house, that becomes your responsibility and your headache. So just taking a look at the property inspection, there's seasoned investors, they can pretty much go in and do this on their own if you're that type of person. But if you want to use a professional, these are some of the things that, you can also go behind the professionals and make sure that, hey, did you check the doors? Did you check the carpet? Did you check the, like the garage door? Do the openers, the remote openers work? The air conditioner, they'll go in no matter what time of the year. So if it's the dead of winter, they'll turn on the air conditioner to make sure that it kicks on. Or if it's, the height of the summer, they'll turn the heat on to make sure that all works. If the appliances are staying, you want to turn that all on. You want to make sure that all the burners are working. I mean, stoves and refrigerators, dishwashers, those things can be easily replaced. But, if they come with the house, and a lot of times, especially up to 4 units, that's considered a residential home. So you definitely, the owner, the seller could provide you a warranty for those items. So if they're staying, so you can get a warranty for those things that they will pay for. The storm windows, you want to check fences, the roof for sure. You want to check that there's no clogs anywhere in your drainage. So that's the exterior. Interior, there's the heater, the electrical, the plumbing, gas, paint, wallpaper. And again, that's minor. In my mindset, that's minor. Kitchen, the cabinets, stove and refrigerator. If they're staying, you want to make sure the bathroom, toilet is working, the shower, the tub, all of that, that that there's no blockage in your plumbing. Check all the bedrooms. And then here's your due diligence checklist. Something that get in the habit of checking. So the property inspection report, the appraisal for financing, current rent roster with paid to date. So for example, you can ask to see, like, especially when you buy more than 4 units, you can ask, it's called the rent roll. You can ask, you're definitely entitled to see those types of things when the leases are up, the tenants that are there, if they're on a yearly lease or if they're month to month. Because, for instance, you buying a building and they're selling it to you, that the tenants are there, and then you find out, hey, they're on month to month. And when I close, all the tenants move out, like, hey, you don't want that in there. But, it's not the end of the world if they are month to month. I definitely, if I were purchasing a property and I see that my tenants are month to month, that would be my first assignment, get them in a year lease. You want to check your insurance, or, check with an insurance company, see how much your insurance is going to be for that property. Maintenance agreement. When, they can provide you, a lot of times when they have the water heater and those types of things serviced, they usually will put a date on the actual water heater, so you'll know the last time that it's been checked. So if it hasn't been checked in a long time, you definitely might want to, have someone come out and check those things before you actually close. One of the things that it talks about in the book is that, if you're getting ready to buy a 4-unit and everyone is used, there's only one electrical box outside, then that could be an expense out of your pocket. And that could be a deal breaker for you. That may put you over into a negative cash flow. So, here's some things that you can definitely look at and make sure that your properties, if the property is worth the price that they're asking. So you may get a report back that, hey, this is a problem. And then especially up to 4 units, again, that's considered residential living. You can ask, okay, I will pay this price providing that you fix this, replace this. There's a window crack in the living room, or there's a plumbing problem. You can request that the owner takes care of that. And then if not, they can give you a credit. You can find out how much those things cost and say, okay, well, let's deduct that from the price if that's something that they don't want to commit to paying. Sometimes sellers are selling as is. And so you have to count the cost of that purchase, so. But after, you buy a couple of properties, you'll become, well-versed in that area. You'll be able to definitely get good at where you can walk in and make the assessment, as you're walking through the home, because you've done it so many times and you paid attention to the inspector when they come out, that, you'll be able to catch something that the inspector missed. So, you want to, this part of the process is so important, is your due diligence. And for those that are watching the replay, if this is something that you would like a copy of, just comment below and I will get that to you. I think I'm on the last slide there. Floor for any questions that you may have.
So I do have one question. This checklist, inspection checklist, came out of the book, duplexes, triplexes, and quads, or is this a different resource that you had access to?
Yeah, it's a different, that's my rich dad.
Okay.
I added this as a bonus. So if this is something you're interested in, I can definitely get that to you. But yeah, there is, though, he did give us some things in the book. Let me just look real quick. So, yeah, so there is some on page 146 and 144. And also on 141. So he actually gives an annual property operating data. And so on here is really like income and expenses. So the property name, just as you're finding properties, you just fill out like fill out information about the property. So that way you can have some information. So even if you are interested in a property and it doesn't work out. And so say if you definitely want to file information on properties that you can, use that information to compare it with other properties that you may find and look at the cost, but and the square footage, and or if it falls off the market, if the deal falls through, you may have another opportunity to take advantage of that property. And so you won't have to start from scratch. You already have that information on file. So he does have a form on file that you can definitely keep for that property. You can put the annual rents. It has the less vacancy, 5% rate on there, gross annual rent. So this is something that you can, use definitely once you locate that property. And then also, the thing you want to also do is, as you're doing your checklist, you also want to make record of what opportunities are available to increase your rents. So for instance, if you're buying a multi-dwelling and it has a basement that you can put coin, washer and dryers in there, that would add money to your bottom line, to your cash flow. If the garage is separate, or storage, you can put storage for your tenants, and you can charge extra for that. Ceiling fans, and it's just little things that really that will help you increase the rents. So you definitely looking, okay, when you're going through, you got your checklist, you're making notes about the property. You're saying, okay, what can I do to increase the rents and increase your cash flow? So these forms are actually great. So you want to, just create something that you can create a history, have a file cabinet, have a filing system. And even after you fill it out, now with technology, you could just upload it and store it that way if that's easy, if you're that type of person, versus having a lot of paperwork, because that does pile up after a while. But you definitely upload it online to give you easy and quick access to that information, because you could be looking at a property on one side of town on the east side and then go to the west side, same house, same square footage, but the price is different, and you could do a comparison. And based on your criteria for your tenant, the other property may be a better deal for you. So you definitely want to create a file on properties that you look at, because again, with the Rich Dad concept is to look at 100 properties, narrow it down to 10 best choices, make offers on 3, and buy 1. And so for those that just on a regular basis, you'll look at a lot of properties, and then
I do that. I keep a file on every property that I'm interested in.
Okay.
Because if I'm interested in it, I do a little research, right? I look on the auditor site. I look on do the property search to find out information. I look on Redfin, I look on Zillow. And so I capture these screenshots or this data on the property, and I throw that in a file folder to save it. Every single time I look up a property, and like you said, you look at, 100 of them or something before you make, you will look at like 10 to 20 of them before you like make an offer. So by the time you've gone through looking at 100 properties, you've probably made 10 offers, right? Because for every 10 or so that you look at, you might make one offer. So by the time you've looked at 100, you've made 10 offers. And if an offer gets accepted or 2, and then you can come to a negotiation, you could buy 1. So I agree with that. It takes like looking at 100 to narrow down how many, which ones you're making offers on, and then the offer gets accepted. And by the time you've done all that, you might get 1. So it's like 100 to 1 ratio.
And then too, it's like with your filing system, you could use it, because that's one thing that Facebook is so popular for, is that it collects data. And that's exactly what you're doing, is collecting data. So again, that data should begin to reveal some things, like what houses are selling the most, which area where the property goes the fastest or the slowest. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely collecting data that's going to help you make some decision. It'll let you know what areas are up and coming, or what areas are historical, or like for instance, if a major corporation is coming to town to bring employment to that area, again, so you should have some interest in those areas. Or you can go to zoning meetings and find out, like for instance, I was going to the zoning meetings over near Mount Vernon area, where they're just going to make that look like Easton. And so the hospital was they were building or expanding, so they're bringing in doctors and nurses from all over. And so that area, there was a lot of boarded homes. And so there were some deals. So definitely you can drive through some neighborhoods that have not had any activities in years. And then all of a sudden you see people outside remodeling and fixing you just begin to pay attention to different areas. And that helps you to become an expert at this and be in the right location at the right time and get in. I wouldn't say you have to be the first, but you can definitely be in the early stages of which the prices are better at that point. But when it gets more saturated, the prices go up. And so I just think it's neat on how all of this works. And so, and like I said, like people like Mike, he's been in it for 20 years and his, he still looks at property every day. And so, depending on what your goals are, if you plan to buy a house every 6 months, then of course you're going to be more actively looking versus someone that, I'm more on the scale of every 2 years. And so, which gives you enough time to, do the research, do the, finding out the best locations to get in and take advantage of some deals, discount properties, and make some excellent cash flow along the way. And that's all I have for tonight. Tia, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm happy to be here. I unexpectedly found myself with some time and I have these dates marked on my calendar. So I will always try to make whichever ones I can